Always close your tags as soon as you open them. Don't have stray tags.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So we're gonna actually do something different with the website because if we open up this file site.html, I don't even know if it'll open. Oh man, it's basically nothing. It's literally nothing, as you can see. Disable. That's a custom Chrome add-on. You don't need to worry about that. As you can see, there's literally nothing. It even just names itself site.html. So, what we're going to do is we're going to say that the title is going to be Destreza Pacifica. We're going to hold it. And what this neat little thing does is that it actually changes this over to the content we put inside of it. And you can add all sorts of cool effects, and I think it accepts emoji. I've never tried using emoji, but it's still pretty
Emoji,
neat.
like the picture symbol thing from a phone?
Yeah.
Oh,
You
I
can
didn't know you could do that.
you can put emoji in there. Um, you can also add an image, right? So
I'm familiar.
yeah. So link
So the
relative.
head is the title. So where it says Destres Pacifica, that's that black line title that you had at the top of your page.
Yes, right there, where my
Yeah.
mouse
Okay.
is. Destreza Pacifica is right there. And here's the icon. We haven't set one yet, so it's going to be at that little default icon we see in the upper left corner. Kind of
Right.
ugly. So let's put something there to make sure that our website at least has a little bit of something to display. And we're
Oh,
going to
so you
tell
can
it,
change that.
oh yeah,
Interesting. I didn't know that.
you can. And here's how. It's a little obscure, but you have to declare a link with relation, relativity. I don't even know what that breaks down to. You're going to say it's an icon, correct? And it's referenced to our path. Our path for the image we want to use is images/destreza.jpg, right? So we're linking it to an
Yeah.
image, we close our tag, and then we save, which Control S.
So the name of that is link relation equals icon
Yes.
top of that, and then your image wherever you're pulling it from, your folder, whatever.
Yes, your path.
Okay.
Once you,
href is a hyperlink, right?
yes, or you could do it by a hyperlink, or you could also do it by what's the word? By a local path. I'm using a local path
Okay.
because I'm not pulling something from the internet. But now that you ask it, why don't we go to Google? What do you want to pull up a random image and try throwing it in there just to see if it works?
Sure. Let's pull it. Oh, actually, that's pretty tight. Yeah, I see that your image changed.
Yeah, right there. We got a cool little custom image.
Cool.
Let's look up cute dogs.
The link would work the same way. Rather than putting the local path, you shove in the link instead. It would be href
Oh yeah.
quotes your link, and then you close it off. I
So
believe.
yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take copy image address, right? Right
Nice. Cute.
there.
Ooh.
Okay. Once we do that, then we're gonna say href. I don't know if this works because we're going a little off the cuff here. Oh man, that's hideous, but we can try.
Oh boy.
Oh, and there's the good boy.
There's a good boy. That is a good boy.
I'm gonna leave it like that because
Okay.
I think that's kind of cool. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. That works. Cool.
All right.
That's
So
Pacifica. Cool.
we're gonna go back and we're gonna edit the head later as we have more files to include.
Now,
Um,
I have another question for you. So you know where it says your path is the C drive user Abe,
yes.
and you're creating a doc type through your own local. Could I do the same thing?
What do you mean?
Okay, so you know how you're creating your own local .html?
Yes.
You're not signed in to NRS, are you?
No, I'm not. We're doing this all on my local machine.
Oh, so that means I could roughly do the same thing.
Oh, you could follow me throughout the entire thing if you'd like. You could
I'm
code as
gonna
I
watch
code.
to learn.
Yeah. At the very end, there's going to be one last thing we can't do without NRS projects or having a web server, and that's the Ajax. But
Right.
that's because we don't have a server to connect to.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Cool.
So-
I learned something new today already. Dang.
So let's link another thing right before actually. So the relevance of this is that it's a style sheet, right? This is just linking our CSS. And we'll get into CSS as we go. So the way that this is organized is that I'm going to show you a new element. I'm going to add it in. I'm going to add a little stuff to it, and then we're going to stylize it. And this is more or less how the website all goes. My thought process, let's go back to the finished website, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to give you a little bit more view into my philosophy of building these sites and how we should go about it as a team later on, is I build this chunk, right? I build this right here. And then once I built it, I'm like, okay, make it look nice. And then I'm like, what comes next? Well, next comes this bar, right? Then I build the bar, make it look nice, then I move down. I'm like, what's below the bar? Below the bar is this big old block of text and images. And we move down from there. But that's just the organization of things. Let's move on to the actual website building again. So type is equal to text.css. Hyperref is equal to style.css. And we're going to actually include this file later. Right now, it's just a little twinkle in my eye. And so relevance, you don't need it anymore, but you should still include it. It tells it this is CSS. Type is equal to text/CSS. Hyperref just tells you the path. It's inside of our current working directory, so it just knows to search there.
Okay.
So let's move on to the real meat and bones of all of this, which is the body. The body contains all of the elements that your HTML document is going to contain. The first thing
basically the variables.
All the stuff, right?
Okay.
This is so when we look at head doesn't show anything. At least it shouldn't. Head contains all of the thinking stuff to the website. Everything you see on screen right now, beneath from here to down here, that is all body. And that should all be body, except for sometimes footer, which footer's like down around here. But we're not going to go over a footer at the moment.
Okay.
Mostly because, I mean, you could do the footer in the body. But
Right.
that side. Do you have feet in your body? I don't know, doctor. Should I be concerned?
That would be kind of concerning, but you know, whatever. I'll pass it on.
Yeah. So here's the div. Its class is going to be equal to banner. Now, we're giving it a class for the sole purpose of being able to easily stylize it. When we first create this banner, it's going to look like ass. Like I'm telling you right now, it's not going to have any logical look together. Everything's going to be clashing. It's going to be downright hideous. And we're going to tame it using the power of CSS. So let's close this div. And let's add in an image with the source equal to images/distrezza.jpg. And cool. We now have an image.
All right, cool.
It's right there. It's huge. It's out of proportion. What the fuck? We'll fix that in a minute. Let's just get everything we want out there first. So the banner has an image, right? What else does the banner have? It has a header, right? H1 is usually denoted to show a main header. We're going to have a main header, which its content, or its inner HTML, is going to be Distrezza Pacifica Skull of Arms. We're going to close that H1. Cool. It's right there. Let's save. Go back. It's right there. I don't want it right there. I want it right over here. Well, we're going to have to do a little bit of cajoling inside of, if we look, banner contains everything, right? It contains Distrezza Pacifica, and then it contains our image. So, why is it doing this? Well, HTML has this interesting property in that some things are blocks and some things are not blocks. These two things are blocks, which what that means is that they both take up their entire line. Even though Distrezza Pacifica is the image is just showing that it takes up this little blue box, it's actually taking up the entire line. So what does the H1 do? The H1 says, whoa, I'm going to go take up the next line, right? Because it wants an entire line. So let's fix this by making a new file, right? New file, save as style.style, S-T-Y-L-E. I put S-T-L-Y-E, deliciously.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we're going to call this style.css. the next hurdle, actually, that banner is going to be really gross. It's going to be a little bit of a pain to deal with. So, what should this banner be? This banner is a class, and the way we denote a class in CSS is we say dot, right? Earlier, we said that this div has class of banner. To the internet, right now, that means literally nothing. So we have to give that meaning, because all a div is a logical grouping of things. But we need to now explain how that logical grouping of things is grouped, what they look like when they're grouped. And we do this by defining certain variables. Like, how high is this banner, right? Well, I decided that a value of 150 pixels is good. The width is 100% of the screen, right? We don't want to just take up a few things. And we want it to be its own logical block. And the way that we say if it's its own block or if it can intersect lines is we use the display property. Display is block. Cool. We've put it together.
So your width is 100%, and your height is 150 pixels.
Yes.
Okay.
So actually, we can do something slightly more interesting. Is 100% is actually not going to work. And I can explain that in a minute. So this a little bit of a trap for myself, right? It didn't work at all. It did jack shit. If we look at the body HTML, it doesn't actually take up 100% of the height of the screen. Do you see that? You'd expect it to,
yeah,
but it doesn't. So we actually have to cajole it into doing so. So how do we do that?
I would not get a third helmet.
So we tell it, so first things first is let's make everything have no padding and no margin. So margin is how much room it has for the stuff within itself. So we're going to say 0 pixels. And padding is the distance from inside of itself, 0 pixels. Now, you could tell it 0 in general and it'll understand that. But for right now, we're just going to be doing this. And as you can see, everything's a
px per pixel. Okay.
Yeah. Did you see before how the fox had a little bit of room away from the top?
Yeah, there's like a small bumper about of space or so, like a small millimeter or two.
Yeah, that was some of the hidden padding that we had, and we got rid of that. So let's get rid of some more annoying stuff from HTML.
So padding is inherently there, and you have to remove yours.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Here's the star selector. That means everything. Literally everything.
Oh, the star at the very top.
Yeah. Do you see that star? That means do this with everything. So if I said display... Oh, this is going to break everything, but it's going to be worth it. So display inline means that they all sit on one line.
Oh, so you messed up everything on one line.
No, I messed up everything on the entire page.
Oh.
Everything is inline. And as you can see, the site now looks hideous. It's great.
Oh god, I see.
Yeah. So the star operator is very powerful, but we don't want to abuse it. But notice how just one line of code right there ruins everything. Be careful.
That was literally one line of code. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
So we're gonna say HTML has a width.
Alright, I'm back.
Alright, welcome back. Feel free to, what's the word? Yeah, interrupt and like have questions. Cause that's
yeah, definitely.
the whole point. Oh, get rid of that. HTML. So width 100%, height is 100%, and we don't want to just tell it 100%. We're going to switch that off to another value later on, and that's a slightly more interesting value. So if we look now, HTML. Earlier, if we looked at this HTML, it just took up a small block from maybe here to here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now it takes up everything, which is cool.
The entire page, basically.
Yes.
So it's one block.
Yes.
Kinda.
Oh, no, it is. You're right. You're 100%
Oh, it is one
correct.
block.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, it is. Okay, so everything is part of each other, basically, except for the HTML part, the body.
Yeah. Body is now only taking up as much space as it needs, but it's a subset of HTML. So we're going to fix body and tell body, hey, you should also take up the entire page. Because we don't want to have annoying spaces that we don't see.
Right.
Doing this lets us have complete control of everything we're doing, and makes our entire experience just a little bit easier.
Can you go back to the tab site.html in Notepad++?
Of course.
So in your dot banner,
Yes.
so the very thing called dot banner, the tab over the site.html.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, class equals banner. So by saying that's your variable banner,
Yes.
so that's why you see dot banner. Okay, I see now.
Yeah.
Cool.
So CSS styles it by saying dot banner. Although there is another operator we can use.
Must they be in the same directory? This CSS and .html?
Oh no. You can tell it like a file path, right? Or you can even hyperlink it.
Snap.
Yeah, you could say use this website's CSS. Just as long as you have a path. So if you were to change the path to like, this isn't gonna work, it's gonna break it.
Mm-hmm.
Path, folder, other thing, right? Well, you don't want that because that tells it root. But if you told it something like this, it would still find it and work. Or if you would even link it to a website's CSS page, it would still work.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very intuitive for HTML. I'm kind of surprised.
There's a lot of junk that makes a lot of sense, but they just never tell you. Or you just kind of are, it's implied. But, like, the whole entire concept that the whole page isn't the whole page, which is kind of what I was trying to get at here, because you see how body takes up just, like, this little chunk? You expect body to be the entire page, but it's not. It's just this blue chunk right here. We can fix that. Right? Fix that.
Yeah.
Super easy by telling body, okay, body min-width, oh man, is 100%. Min-height is 100%. So, when we say HTML 100%, it is kind of equivalent, although not entirely, to 100% of view width and 100% of view height. So, these are interesting variables in that they say everything on screen. Everything on screen is 100% view width, or everything within the width of that, and 100% of that. And when we say min width and min height of 100%, that's also saying, hey, get 100% of the thing I'm a child of. And what is body a child of? HTML. So let's save that. This won't make too much of a change in the site, as you can see, but there is one change. Body now takes up the entire page. So does HTML. So that will make things
Collectively
much easier.
together, they share the same space. Then.
Yes.
Tight. Okay, so they're sharing the same space. But then that means if you manipulate either one, does that mean they interfere with each other, or no?
No. So
No.
HTML is its own thing, right? This can only become an issue. So let me explain it to you this way. It's much more useful if you say HTML is 100% and then you say body is like something like 90%, because then you can have room to play with your footer, and then you always know your footer takes up 10%, right?
Right.
It's for sanity, but I'm not adding a footer, so I said body is just 100%.
Okay, cool.
So, let's get on. So, the image and this aren't quite doing what we want them to yet. So now we have to start adding arguments, right? So now we're going to tell banner, okay, oh, that's not right. That should be dot banner. I was going to show you the hashtag, but we'll take care of that later. It's basically...
Oh yeah, dot banner is fine.
Yeah, hashtag banner just means if something has the ID of banner, then use this. I don't really do that. I've got my own way of doing things. Dot banner, image. So this is an interesting line of CSS. What this is saying is apply this CSS to an image that is inside of a banner. In other words, this. Because these are both inside of our banner. Right?
Okay.
Well, this one image is. So.
Yeah, the foxes.
Oh yeah, that foxy mama's up in there. So.
I see. So it's changed. So the block becomes of image sr fox, and the one over is the entire thing together. So you're manipulating the inside image alone, and not the banner. Square within a square, basically.
Yes, I'm only acting on the images inside of banner. But if I added
That's helpful.
another image to banner, like if I put another fox here inside of our banner, it would also be affected by this. So it's a good way of dealing with multiple things at once. So we're going to say that it has a display of inline, which what that means is that it doesn't take up its own line. And then we're going to tell it, well, we also want it in the upper left corner. So we're going to use the float property. And all the float property does is it forces something to the left or to the right. Left, right? So if we look at that, it changes that. See?
Display inline and float left.
But
Cool.
if we were to change the float over to a right float, it's actually not going to have quite the same display as we want. There we go. Float left, float right. And the text kind of just follows. So,
Oh, I see.
max-height is 100%, right? So what this is saying, this neat little code right here is saying take up 100% of the height of the container you're inside of. So what this is actually going to shrink, well, it's not going to shrink it. It's not going to shrink it. Oh, it did. But as we can see, if we zoom in, it still gets huge. We can fix this. So the way that we do fix that... Oh, let me keep that inspect open.
That's weird.
Yeah. There's a way we can fix that, and it's a cool property in CSS called object-fit. You're going to like this. Object-fit. And you have a few different options. The one that we're going to go over is called scale down. Right?
Yeah.
And what that does is that it scales down the image to fit it inside of its parent container. So, let's save. Do you see how it's not all overlapping anymore and they're both taking up about the same amount of space? They're not colliding?
Yes.
Scaling down...
Okay, so they're scaling itself.
Yeah. It's scaling to keep its same aspect ratio inside of its container, and so that way it doesn't, kill the text.
So that's how it works. Because I noticed how websites do that. Like that's actually on mobile devices, especially when you zoom in with your fingers.
Yeah.
It'll readjust the text as you go, rather than squeezing things together.
You're correct. That's what we're trying to get at here. And notice how I'm doing a lot of stuff in percentages and view heights and view widths. So what that does is that if somebody gets in on a phone, they'll have about the same view as they were on a computer, right? Because when you think about it this way, if you're on a computer, a pixel is an absolute amount, right? A pixel is a pixel is a pixel. But as soon as you go on a phone, if you were to define this entire site in pixels as opposed to percentages, the entire site would fall apart. It would look like
because they're
trash.
two different things. Because the ratio of the screen is different from a computer screen.
Correct.
Roughly. Okay.
A phone doesn't have as many pixels as a computer screen, so the website's going to be trashed. But, I mean, the percentage of screen taken up doesn't change, so we can work off that a little bit more efficiently. So, we have the banner, image, scale down. Now we also need to edit the text. So, what are we going to do? We're going to reference it this way, .banner h1. And let me give us a little bit of headroom, just so we don't have it all scrunched up at the bottom. So, position relative. What this means is that we want the h1 to be positioned to its nearest absolute ancestor.
What is your H1? Is that the actual header?
Yes, that's this.
Okay. The header is the Destra Specifica.
Yes.
Okay.
It's the Strezza Pacifica. Well, let me reload that. Okay. We want it relative. Right now it's kind of doing that, but if we tried telling it to move, right, it wouldn't do anything, because it says, no, I'm right here and I don't want to move. So how do we nudge it into moving? Well, we say, your position is now relative, right? You are relative to things around you. And I want it to be a little bit further from the top, so I'm going to tell it top, 25%. And there's also another variable called bottom, but that's effectively the inverse of top. So it depends on how you're trying to discuss it. Hello?
Yo, yo.
Hey, I hope you didn't wait too long.
No, literally like less than a minute.
Okay, good. Okay. So, BRB main. Yeah, I'm going to leave it as that. I like that.
Yeah.
It's
Cool.
good. Sweet. Sweetie, sweetie. Okay. So, we're going to keep styling, because we styling as a foot. So, top 25%. So, if we look at that, what that did is it moved it a little bit from the top.
Okay.
Just a little
When you
bit.
say 25%, is that relative to the page that you already have, or 25% up to what it already is now?
It is relative 25% to its container of the banner.
Okay.
It's 25% away from the top of this div, right? So if I made it top 100%,
It'd be sitting at the top of the page, basically.
no, it would actually be the opposite.
Oh.
It would be down. Top means relative from the top to the bottom. Right?
Okay. Oh, snap. Okay.
It's a weird inverse thinking.
That is inversed.
Yeah. So we're going to say, I like 35% just for fitting reasons. Yeah, that looks like somewhere in the middle, right? It looks pretty good. But you know what I don't like? I don't like it that it does that. Like, that looks bad. What's that one sound effect? Oh, fuck.
I have no idea. Okay, that...
We'll be right back. Yeah, like, I don't like that.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's all I had in my head. But we can fix that. So we say top 25% and white
One moment.
space. Yeah.
Abe, can you hear me?
What was that?
Okay, making sure that my mic is on.
Yeah, I can hear ya. I can hear ya. Oh, nee.
Oh my God, is that your sand language? Come on.
No, our sign language doesn't sound quite like that.
What language do you speak, by the way, since your parents are from different states, I guess?
Different countries. I speak a
Sorry, state is referring... state outside...
Yeah. That... I see, yes. Okay. I speak Assyrian. It's like a Middle Eastern dialect, because they have lots of nice little racial discrepancies around there.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So there's just like 11 different dialects or some shit, and we speak specifically Assyrian.
Fascinating. I did not know that.
Yeah. And they're all like slightly different. Like, I think like one particular difference is like, we say Mia, right? But the Muslims in the area say Maya for water.
That is a bit of a difference.
Yeah. It's like the difference between water and woder. Milk and malk,
Right.
Like if I heard somebody speaking, I could kind of understand them.
Right, you just have to probably fix it yourself in your own head, and you would understand.
Yeah. What
what
actually
is
is your
Namaskar?
background?
My background, so my parents
Yeah.
are Thai, from Thailand, not like
Okay.
Taiwanese. There's a difference.
Yeah.
I don't know, she just spoke Thai right now.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, this is my friend Abraham from school. Well, you can't
Hello.
see it, it's just a microphone.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
how the bread look when you
The
crispy
bread?
like that?
I think I should have made it crispier, but it's
No, but it's crispy now. Can you make it better?
no, it's fine. It's fine. It's crispy outside. It's fine. Okay. Well, good night.
Is that your mom?
Yeah, it's my mother, and my
Aw.
father in the background. It's just me. Actually, we're just home. My sisters and stuff are all at school still, or
I see.
sister, I should say. But
Right.
yeah, so Thailand is that the language is of course Thai. Like I guess it's hard to distinguish between like Taiwanese, but you just say Thai. People
Yeah.
should know. Pretty simple. I don't really know the language myself. A couple words and phrases here and there, not much.
Yeah, kind of the same for me.
They didn't teach you either?
They taught me a little bit. Do
I
you
see.
have you ever wanted to go back and relearn?
I have actually. It's just that I don't. The thing is that if you can learn it, but the problem is having to upkeep. There's no one to talk to.
Yeah.
So you can't practice.
Especially up here, it's pretty monochrome.
And then especially for your case being Middle Eastern and all, that's not widely accepted right now. So I feel like that's even more difficult for you.
Yeah, and the Arab kids inside the CS program, they speak a totally different. They speak a very similar language, but it's like I can't communicate with them, so I'm kind of
They're not from
SOL.
the same area, right? I thought they are Saudi Arabian.
They are, yeah.
So then the language must be slightly different.
I think we have two Egyptians too. Like I tried speaking to them once, and they're like, "We kind of get you, but we don't really get it." And I'm like, "That's okay. You guys still seem cool, though."
Oh, okay, that's nice. At least you get to that language. I never hear Thai people unless I go with my parents. I don't know. I don't hear anyone else speaking the language.
Yeah.
Even when they do, they're not my age. So then that's even weirder. I don't know how to converse with them anyhow. So I would rather not.
Why don't you spend a summer in Thailand?
I would, but the problem is my grandfather asked me to go to Thailand with him. It's just I don't really know the man that well.
I see.
I've been to Thailand before, and you don't want to go to that country by yourself alone like that, especially if you don't know Thai.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if you're American like I am, that it's not a good idea.
Yeah. Kind of.
So eventually, we plan to go back as a family relatively soon. I think after I graduate from college.
That would be cool. I can empathize with that. Yeah, it's a little spooky to go by yourself.
Oh yeah, everyone that told me ghost stories over there, I'm just like, what the heck? I don't even know. Why would you do this to me?
Okay. Let me get this going, so I'm not
Yes.
wasting too much of your time.
JavaScript, right? What is JavaScript?
JavaScript is high CPU use, so I don't give a shit. Okay, my computer's crying.
that's
More so, my broadcasting software is crying. I don't know why. There's nothing wrong. JavaScript is the magic in the background that lets you do interesting things. Like my site that was totally controlled made of HTML elements that's totally made in JavaScript. JavaScript is the programming language of the HTML. HTML just sets up the structure and tells the website what it looks like. Although theoretically speaking, you could build an entire website in JavaScript, it's just not a very good idea. So we use HTML to put out the structure. And that actually segues pretty nicely into my next topic, which is going to be, well, first things first, let's look at our website and see where we're at. So if we look at it real quick, we'll see that we have a nice little thingamajigger in the middle, the text. And how zoomed in are we? We're 100%. So let's see how far along we are. Okay.
So basically, you can build a website with HTML, but the underlying structure you can use overlying you can use a little bit of JavaScript, but it cannot be solely JavaScript.
Yes. So JavaScript is what we use to do special, interesting things to the page, like buttons, buttons that change the content of other stuff. Is JavaScript. Actually, here, let's go to, or better yet, let's not use that example. Let's use the example we're going to use later. So, all these buttons, all the structure, this is all put together with JavaScript. But the thing that makes Hello World pop up there, right, or null, that's JavaScript. Everything else is HTML. So, like, if I click a button here and it says "Hello World," that's JavaScript.
Oh, it's it's basically the actions that you can get from it.
Yeah, you can Yeah. Actually, that's a pretty good way of looking at it. So,
Cool.
you can build your website the way you want, but it's the JavaScript that tells it what to do, right?
Is it like in the title, like the scripting part of it, like JavaScript? It's the part that's running the actual crap behind it, not the beautiful part. It's like the one doing the work.
Yes.
Kinda.
JavaScript is the thing that lets you do interesting things. Although with CSS, you can get into stuff like animations. But those we can cover at a later time. I might do another stream if everybody else shows a little bit of interest after I edit this down to its base steps. And we get to have all of your beautiful input in it. So
Where the heck is everybody?
I don't know.
Alpal is on. Let's see, you know what?
Tell them, hey, JavaScript is happening.
Alright, JavaScript is a happen in name.
At least the first part of JavaScript.
I actually took, so while you were doing your video Twitch part, I was actually screenshotting some information so I could have it in my notes.
Oh, that's good.
And I actually did the same thing with the local data, and I created, so I'm trying to create a small website for my parents for our restaurant. In a couple years, that's when it's going to be running. And I just did the first thing in the tab section where it just says the title that you showed me without the little icon. And I just put the name there. I was like, all right, that's literally step 1 of 2,000 plus. So I'm getting there. It was pretty cool, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, indeed.
So, this next step is going to be creating a navigation bar. So we're going to have a beautiful little bar going across the screen all the way, giving us the various elements which populate the screen. So let's create a new div, right? And this new div is going to have a class. Let's give it something helpful like navbar, right? Because it's the bar we navigate the site with. We'll also give this one an ID, just to show different ways that you can select things in CSS. /div. And what is this going to be made up of? Buttons.
How do you mean? Oh, buttons, like physical things you can click on?
Yeah. So we're going to have a button. We're going to call this but1.
Now, when you say nav bar, is that your own name, or is that a name that is permanently identified?
That's a name I made up. Notice how it's a div. So the thing about divs is that divs are logical groupings of elements, right? And with these logical groupings of elements, we have to define how they hold stuff, right? Like, if we look right here with... I'm actually going to change that because I don't want waiting on Kevin. Hi, Kevin. I'm going to call it Hi, Kevin.
Oh, yeah.
Hi. Go. So if we look right here, this is one logical grouping of items, and we defined it as such, right? So in our style.css, this banner has a height of 150 pixels. It takes up 100% of the screen, 100% of the width, and it has display of block. That's all we told it, right? But we can also tell it border is a thin, black, solid border, right? I think this should work. Nope, that didn't work. That's because I put them in the wrong order. Okay, let me put them in the correct order. Here. I'll just put this. Yeah, so we're going to tell it it is very thin, solid black border around our banner, right? And then we get that, right? So we're telling this container what it holds. And we'll leave that banner on there just to better visualize things. But as you can see, there's but1 right there. And that's inside of a div, right? It's inside of a container, but we haven't structured that container yet. So let's put lots of button there. Oh, no. Let's put lots of button there like it's a Dr. Dre video. So we're going to put 4 beautiful butts inside of our HTML. And as you can see, they look hideous. They don't have any styling. Generally look kind of like crap. But that's okay.
So by putting it in that header, the way you put it like one underneath each other, they can line up automatically. So like but1, but2, but3, and but4. They line up by themselves until you tell it to do something else.
So these buttons are actually inline elements, right? So the concept behind them is that they don't need their own line. Remember how the image needed its own line before we, like, Remember earlier how it was an image and then text, and we had to change it to display inline in order to get it to be image text, right?
Yes.
Image text instead of image text. These buts are all inline things. So they're like, I don't need a new line, I don't need a new line, and I don't need a new line. And we...
Yeah, in line of each other, I see.
Yes, but if we look, if we inspect, there's a little bit of magic happening right underneath the surface. We can see that the nav bar is taking up this location. The rest of the line is still there. Now we want our buttons to take up the rest of this, right? We want them to go across the screen and make that nice little pretty display we discussed, right? We don't want them to just be lined up here. That's pretty hideous. So how do we do this? Not with HTML, because the div knows that it contains these 4 objects. So we said there exists this container with these 4 buttons. But now we need to tell the container, well, what does the container look like? Okay. So, let's create an ID selector. Notice how navbar has an ID, right?
Yeah.
So, IDs can be selected with the hashtag. So, if something has an hashtag, it can be like hashtag navbar. Right? And now we can start selecting it in CSS and doing cool CSS things with it. So this navbar is going to have a width of 100% all the time. It's always going to be all the way across the screen. Next, we're going to do something really interesting. So we're going to tell it, okay, navbar, I want your display, in other words, how you show content on the screen, to be flex. We're not going to go too far into flex, but what flex is that it tells content how it should be displayed within its container. The navbar is going to tell its content, hey, I want you to be justified. I want you to be justified with space between, right? So now everything's justified with space between. So we're going to see that in action. Okay, cool. They all got squeezed together. This is the concept behind a flex box. Now, they're not fully flexed out yet. We got to get some good flexing going here in just a second. And we have to do that by actually editing the buttons themselves. Because all we did is we told navbar, hey, stretch and shrink across the screen as the size of the elements change.
Now, I know this might be probably not a big question, but if you look at your inspect elements, if you look down to styles, why is there that little hazard sign with justified content being crossed out?
Let's look at that. Ooh. Oh, invalid property value.
Okay,
I probably
so that really
typed
means not
something
much.
stupid. Yeah.
Okay. But it still does the work that you wanted was by squeezing the buttons together. So when you said to touch the individual buttons, that means you're touching the individual elements?
So, what do you mean?
Okay, so that means if you want to manipulate button 1, 2, and 3, you need to go to actual button 1, 2, and 3. You can't do something from the overhead to affect all of them. You have to change each of them individually. Oh, okay.
We're going to do that right now. So we're going to say hashtag, which means ID, navbar, button, right? So all the buttons inside of navbar are going to do this. What are they going to do? Well, we're going to tell them you're going to have a height of, I don't know, like 50 pixels, we'll say. Let's say that their font-family is, I really like this font, I use it. Mostly because it's classy as fuck. Font-size. Font size, I'm going to use something called an EM. An EM is based off the viewport's text size. So this is a relative scaling. So this is good. It's going to scale down and up as we zoom in and out, unlike other text sizes that stay relatively the same. So we want to keep this in order to keep everything looking relatively nice. Okay. So, and you know what? There's 4 of them, right? So we're going to say width 25%, but in a minute, we're going to actually be able to get rid of this and make it scalable. So that way we can have n number of buttons, and they'll be equally divided, and we'll be doing that through the magic of JavaScript. But
Wow.
that'll take a minute. See how the butt is now stretched across the screen? We can
Cool.
do... Yeah. So now the buttons are stretched across the screen. The reason why is because we told them, hey... Oh, man. If we get rid of our flex property, right? If we tell it, hey, no more flexing, I think this actually breaks it. Yeah. See how they're not... See how in this one, right here, went so far to the right that it's like, oh, wait, I'm no longer in view, right? I'm off screen. So what does it do? It says, okay, I'm going to overflow and get my own new line because I can't display off screen. Right? So that's what display flex does, is it says, hey, try to make everything fit within its container. Let me see if this actually does anything, because this might have been broken. Yeah. I can't recall. I think it just gets rid of a little bit of dead space, and I just
So
use
what I'm getting from this HTML so far is that when you want to do something, you're basically creating variables and objects to manipulate individual items. If that makes sense. Like you have to create something in order to use it, and then you use it here by creating this other thing to use it there, and then you want to do something overall, you have certain commands, text, whatever that you're using in HTML.
Yeah, you're correct. You're making a giant sandbox, right?
Yeah.
You're saying there exists this image in the upper left corner, right? I want to pick this image out. Well, how do I pick this image out? Well, I'm going to pull up the magic of saying in the banner, find an image, all of those images, display them like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's effectively all you're doing, is you're saying, okay, select everything. But if I just said straight up image, that would still work until we add in another image, right? Because there's only one image right now.
Yeah, so it knows that there's one, rather than if there were two.
If there were two, right, and there were two inside of this, they would both be affected. If there was two and there was one up here and one down here, because I'm using just the word image, it's going to affect both of them, and they're all going to be styled like this.
So then, therefore, you must specify at that point.
Yes, you have to say, use this image. You don't have to. You can be very, very general. In fact, you can be like, font-size. Well, actually, I'm not even going to touch that, because it's just... Okay, the star operator is evil. Just
Yeah, you
always
told me
remember
that it affects everything, I believe.
Yes.
So you gotta
can
use
say-
classing.
I'm not even sure what this line of code does, but it's going to be fun to see what it does. It did nothing. Okay, that's even more concerning. Actually, wait, I know what I can do. I'm concerned. There we go. Just turned everything black.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Oh, holy cow.
Yeah, it broke everything. Yeah. It took the stream a minute to update, so let's
That's
get
funny.
rid of that. That's
Yeah.
horrifying. Like I said, star is very powerful. Don't abuse it.
Right.
So let's finish styling these buttons. I'm going to say that they have a border that is 1.em, 0.1 em, solid black. I'm just making it look better. Right, none. Transparent, right? There, that looks kind of pretty. As we can see, there's a little bit of ugliness right here. Give it a minute or two to update. There's a little bit of missing border, but we're going to fix that with JavaScript in a minute.
Okay.
There are other ways we can fix it using just pure CSS. For instance, we could give this child right here, the last child, an ID, right? And tell it to have a right border. But we're not going to deal with that. Actually, well, no, that'd be a good moment to demonstrate the cascading style sheets. So CSS is a cascading style sheet. What does that mean? It means that everything that comes below a line of code overwrites the thing that came before it, right?
Okay.
So if we look here, well, let me pull this up. I told it this in CSS that all of these buttons have a very thin, solid black border, which, as we can see, is pretty true. They do, except for the top, but that's because these two overlap. These are two borders touching. Right? And I told them no right borders, because if we did tell them to have right borders, watch what happens. See this effect up here where two borders are touching?
Yeah.
It's now happening here, 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 and here. And you see how there's this little dead space?
Is that why it's so thick?
Yeah, it's so thick because there's a left border and a right border touching.
So they're basically combining each other rather than... Okay, I see.
So I'm going to put back this line of code. Border dash right, none. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But then we run into a problem. If you look, it looks a little prettier. Looks a little cleaner. Then you get...
Thinner.
Yeah, it looks cleaner. Except for the top one, but we can fix the top one by telling the banner, you know, border dash bottom, none. Cool. Awesome. Sweet. That's fucking jism. So
yeah, okay, that looks pretty good. Wow.
I'm going to give this one an ID equal to last child, right? So what I'm telling you I can do is I can select everything that is inside of this and tell it specifically this last one. I want you to do this with it, right? And we do that, and I can actually show it inside of an even more interesting way in which the order of this matters. So we have to put... This is a really bad name. I should actually say last button, because last child might be a little confusing.
It sounds like a node or something different.
You are correct. Okay, I'm going to call this one last button. So we're going to say hashtag last button. Right. And we're going to say border dash right is going to be 1.em solid black, right? Make it 0.1 em, not 1 point. So if we do that, oh wait, I forgot to save. I am silly. What? I think I've got a cached copy. Give me a minute. Gotta deal with this. This button. Da-da-da. Oh, that's weird. It's not updating.
Does that mean that it's probably not taking it based on the code?
Yeah, it's being dumb. Okay. I wasn't expecting to do this, but that's okay. We can always fix things later. Nope, it's doing it. It says it's doing it, but it's not actually doing it. Okay. Sure thing, CSS.
Why not?
Yeah, okay. We're not going to spend too much time on it, because that's like a minor aesthetic difference.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah. Let's sweat more so on the really cool shit we're about to do, which is going to be making keeping up this website a lot easier. How do we do that? With JavaScript. I'm not even going to bother with the content down here, because that's going to... We can probably wrap that up at a later day, because I just want to show you JavaScript. Because it's cool.
I don't even know what that looks like, and I have heard that JavaScript is fairly confusing.
Yeah, so let's start off with JavaScript. Okay. And let's try to get you started on JavaScript in a sensible way. So before we start anything, let me rename this. I'm going to save this as script.js. You can name your JavaScript whatever you want, so long as it ends with JS.
Okay.
We're going to go back to our head, right? We're going to go back to the head, and from the head, we're going to include a new script, right? So if we look at our script, then we have to tell it a source, right? The source is going to be equal to script.js. And then we're going to, and tell it, okay, and the script. That's our entire script. We can include stuff, right? Just like in C++, we have a
Count includes and all that junk.
Yes, it's just like that. We're also going to include something a little different. Sharon teaches us not to use this from default, but I'm going to use it just because it saves us time. And I'm going to use one line of code from it. This is called jQuery. Most JavaScript developers use it, but there are some other methods. And also, before you start running off into the woods with jQuery, don't. Learn some basic JavaScript first. So there's two ways you can start off a JavaScript document. You always want to make sure that your JavaScript fires. Either you can tell your JavaScript to fire right away, which is a bad idea, or you can tell your JavaScript to fire after the entire page is loaded. The reason why is that, okay, so let's say you're trying to build a house, right? HTML is the house, CSS is the paint, and JavaScript is the wiring, right? I'm trying to make up this analogy as I go, so expect it to fall apart. So imagine if the wiring crew shows up and they're ready to start wiring and the house hasn't been built yet.
Okay, that makes sense. You can't do that technically. I mean, you can, but it's not going to work that well.
Yeah, there are some wires underneath the house, so sometimes you can get away with it, but in this instance, the house is already built. We need the house to be built in order to put the wiring in. So let's tell it by saying $. Just trust me on this and just accept this as fact for, well, actually, let me pull up.
I will call it temporary fact until I take a real class.
I think it was window.onload. I should actually be showing you window.onload. Yeah, I'll do window.onload just so you aren't confused by jQuery just yet. And that's a kindness to you because Sharon doesn't even allow jQuery. Window.onload function. So we're going to fire this function. It's going to get really weird. jQuery gets really weird. Our function is now our JavaScript. And let me make sure that I did that correctly, because I don't trust myself, right?
You don't trust yourself?
I don't trust myself, because I'm going off script a little bit here to try and benefit you just a little bit more.
Fair enough, I'm the only one in class, so,
yeah.
You know.
So we can afford to hurt ourselves just a little bit.
Test subject, no problem.
You got it, my boy. Okay, yeah, I think this is correct. Window.onload. Usually I use $document.ready function, which is the jQuery way of doing it, and that's what I have in my notes. But I should show you the pure JavaScript way of doing it, because that will save you a lot of headache. So let's make some beautiful lines of code. The following code takes an element's ID, and it will equally space all of its children, right? And just to prove that I haven't done that I'm not tricking you yet, right? That I'm not pulling any bullshit, we're gonna go to site.html. We're gonna insert another but, right? And this is actually gonna break the page. Not completely.
It will break the page.
It will space them out just a little weirdly.
Okay. Oh, well, yeah, because of what you added.
Yeah, actually, wait, is it? Oh!
Wow. No, let's...
No.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. No, it's actually fine.
Yeah, it looks okay.
So, let me get rid of this. Wait. Get rid of this. There we go. That broke it, right? So what we did...
Yes, it did.
What we did is we got rid of width, right? We didn't tell them how wide they had to be, which kind of got them to shit themselves a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell them how wide each one must be. The way we go about that is utilizing JavaScript to tell them, hey, you have to be this wide, then you have to be this wide, then you have to be this wide, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's get started on just a little bit of that JScript. I'm going to leave this out just to prove to you that I'm trying to get the JavaScript to actually work. There's no trickery. Function. Space children, right? That's going to space. Oh my god, that's an unfortunately named function. This is the function we're declaring. What does it expect? Well, it expects an element ID, so we'll call our variable that. In JavaScript, you don't have to declare your variables as variables. You can. It's doable, but that's mostly for human readability. So, what is the first thing we have to do? Well, we have to actually get this ID, right? Because everything in this page has an ID. We have to get this ID right here. We have to be talking about this object right here. How do we talk about this object? Well, there's a very special JavaScript function called getElementById. This is the primary way we get things. There's other ways we can get things, and we can cover that at a later date. Like, I don't mind just sitting down and cranking through all the various ways we can get things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's by class name, and we can do that as well. And I can show you that both work. So, but first, we will do ID. Okay. So
I was going to ask you that. I'm glad you brought up the ID part. So the ID is basically, it sounds like identification.
yeah, and
So you
every
can-
ID is unique. You cannot have more than one ID on a page, or it will break things.
Okay.
That is just the truth.
I noticed that your class and ID name are the same. Is that because you would want to affect all buttons at the same time?
Class and ID name, that's just something that I do because it's useful. It's a little bit more readable. It's okay. I could get rid of the class really, and I could change this to a. Actually, yeah, just to prove that to you right now, I can get rid of the hashtag and just put a dot, and it'll work all the same. It's just that the hashtag, the ID just says this is this thing's unique ID. No other element in the page has this. In JavaScript,
That's just specifying at that point.
yes, it's saying this is this, and no other item has this ID. You need to guarantee that. If you put two IDs, you will shoot yourself in the foot.
I'll pass.
Yeah, don't shoot yourself in the foot, kids. It's a bad idea. Don't do drugs. Okay, let's fix our buttons just so last button is last, even though that one shouldn't need an ID. So I'm going to get rid of that really quick. And I'm going to call this button 4, button 5, 45, blah, blah, blah. Sweet. So now we need to grab that bar. So how do we grab that bar? Well, we use...
The ID?
Yeah, document.get. And here's the true weakness of JavaScript, and that is really long variable names, right?
Yeah. Ew.
So I'm going to shorten this down to spaced item is equal to, right? And we just saved having to retype this 7 times. Always do this in JavaScript whenever you can. If you have to call getElementById more than once in a function, make a new variable. I can't stress this enough. This will save you in terms of readability.
Yeah,
Actually-
that's like the same thing in C++, where if you use something more than once, you're going to create it in C++ anyway, but at this point you should just do it if you're using it more than one time.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh,
Yes, space item,
yes.
that's what you call space item in order to get your document.get element.
Okay. Yes. So let's create a for loop. Variable I is equal to 0, right? This is
You can do that? Is that what that is for, JavaScript? So you can write
Oh, yeah.
code like that before and stuff?
Oh, yeah. So I is less than spaced item dot. Here's a really handy function. So right now we have this, right? We have this bar that is containing all of these buttons. That's all we have. But we don't have the child elements inside of it. We don't have the individual buttons. So how do we talk about this thing? Well, we can talk about it in terms of children. So for I is less than spaced element dot child element count, the number of child elements it has. And it's very important. It's all camel case. So lowercase c, uppercase e, uppercase c. Dot child element count, I++. Right? I hate you, JavaScript. Okay. Come on. There we go. Now that I've wrangled it. So, all we gotta do is tell it, okay. So, we're going to iterate over this spaced item child element count number of times, right? And what are we going to do? Well, now we have to start talking about specific children. Spaced item dot children. So we can access specific children, get this, like an array in C++. Check that out. You can just use square brackets and say dot children. And we can, like, this is child 0. It's child 1, 2, 3, 4, you know.
Interesting.
So we're going to access each individual child. And we're say children. So now we want to edit the width, right? And usually you'd think it's just a method like width. Unfortunately, if you want to edit anything in this file, in the CSS, you can't just say dot width. You have to say style.width, right?
Because you're calling the actual CSS file.
Yes, you're saying change the style of it. So, some pretty basic mathematics we can do here to solve this. Well, we have 100% of the width, right? So it's equal to 100 over spaced item dot child element count, right? Because what's 100 divided by 4?
20. Sorry, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that.
No, you got it. It's late. But you're right. This
Right.
will not work, though. Because if we go to style.width inside of our CSS, and we look at it, actually, if we look at any width, look at that. It's in percentage, or it's in pixels, or it's in view width, or it's in view height. So before we can even change these elements, what we need to do is we actually need to edit each one individually by saying plus, well, you know, concatenation, just like normal C++. You can say plus whatever variable we want. We can say plus percentage sign, right? Or we can say plus view width. I'm going to use view width because I personally prefer that. And with that working, that actually should space out our elements. Oh.
So you're giving each one a percentage of, or a view width of 25 per each button.
Yes. Let's see. Did I do something silly? I probably did do something silly. So let's see. Is the constant? I'm
Oh,
dumb.
yeah, 5? So then, yeah, wait.
So it didn't space out because I forgot a parentheses because I'm silly Billy. Okay.
Hey, it tells you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So notice how there's an onload right here. This is the one thing you have to look out for. And you're gonna throw up at this. It's onload, right parentheses, and then a semicolon to say we're done. That's gross, right?
Oh, sure.
So it's left paren, function, here's our function, here's our right parentheses to that one, and then a semicolon to say, yeah, that's done. But what this is it's called a listener. I believe it's a listener. And it listens for the window to it's the window listening for the page to say, I am loaded. When it's loaded, run this function. When it runs this function, well, it does all this. But it's actually not going to do that either because we haven't called the function yet as well. So let's actually call that function space children at navbar, right?
Right.
That looks like a function to me, if I've ever seen one. We're going to reload the page. Window.onload is not a function. What do you mean not a function? Okay, window.onload is stabbing me in the back. Wait. I did something silly. Did I? I'm trying to see. Let me have a look through that JavaScript. Did I forget? Okay. I'm saying. It's equal to function. Let's try that. Are you microwaving yourself some dinner?
Heck yeah, man. Okay, it may sound really white, but I really like tuna casserole for some reason.
Oh,
I don't
I
know
fucking
why.
love tuna casserole.
My dad made it when I was a kid, and I was like, oh crap, I kind of want that again. I was like, sure, why the heck not?
I made some breakfast casserole that was bomb as fuck.
I think you posted that to yesterday. Yesterday, I believe you're like too much, and someone said not enough, and then that is true. There is never enough. Wait, what is breakfast casserole?
You cook bacon and eggs and a lot of veggies, and then you put the eggs in the, how do I put it? Inside the casserole dish, and then you bake that at a high temperature for a while, and then you die.
All right. Okay. Did you figure out your issue with the .onload?
Yes. Okay.
I see that you removed the parenthesis to add an equal sign, and then you added space children nav bar beneath the brackets there.
Okay, I put a lowercase d right here. Oh, actually, yeah, debugging in JavaScript. So you have an error in JavaScript, right? All of your exceptions are thrown here inside the console part of the inspect. That's also important. But if you look now, it works. It does the thing I said it would. And the cool thing about this is we can just be like, hey, JavaScript, I want another button. So I'm going to copy this, right? Paint this in. I don't even change my CSS at all. And it's like, boom, skadoosh. And they're all beautifully stretched across the screen.
Oh wow, that's actually pretty cool.
It's kind of like a... So, the reason why I design stuff like this, and the reason why you should consider designing stuff like this, is because you're not going to be the one upkeeping the website 10 years from now. It might not be somebody who's very savvy with tech. So, you can keep things organized for them, and teach them to not muck with CSS by handling it either with the CSS, because there is another way we can do this with just pure CSS, but it's not available.
Sounds nasty.
It's actually, let me see. Let me see if this actually works, because I want to see if the display flex will just handle everything for us. Wish me luck, buckaroo.
Oh, I wish you plenty.
Yeah, that didn't work at all. That didn't work. Yeah, never mind. Think that I said nothing. Yeah, just do it with JavaScript and call it a day. There are...
That seems pretty helpful. Wow, JavaScript's pretty powerful in that sense. You can use it with HTML coupled that way to do the spacing for you.
It's the holy trinity, my friend. Oh, I forgot to...
The way I see this is that you can set up your base page with HTML, use JavaScript to basically organize your content once you set it up properly. To a degree.
So okay. So you use HTML to build the house, right?
Yeah.
And then I guess CSS is sort of like, it sets up... CSS can organize things, and it can also... It can't build anything, but it can take stuff that's already built, and it can organize it in a more usable fashion. Like, if I just got rid of this div altogether, right? This div right here, navbar, and I were to change this just over to buttons, right? I mean, the buttons would look okay, but they're no longer like one cohesive whole. They're no longer their own thing. We don't see them as their own list of objects. Oh, it still has... Why does it still have the navbar?
Well, did
I delete it? Did I save that I... Oh, I didn't save that I deleted it.
I don't think you saved it.
Yeah, okay. So if I get rid of that, it's hideous. It doesn't work. They don't do their thing. We can't control them as readily.
I see it now.
We could use JavaScript to work around this problem right? And we'll do this to work around the problem. Okay, so I'm going to say get element instead of by ID, get element by class. Well, get element by class name, right? Class name is button. I think button is actually supposed to have an uppercase B. So we're going to say get element by class name button. This saves us an entire div, but I like having divs because it organizes everything into nice, neat little chunks that are more readable to a human being. The issue arises when you have something called dividus, which is you have too many divs. Every div should be trying to show one thing, right? It's trying to group just one nice little selection of things. We can get rid of one entire div, but I feel like the readability of the code to a human being suffers. So get element by class name, and then we're going to say spaced item dot length, right? Because now this is an array. Because elements by class name is actually an array of items. Element by ID is a single item. It will always be a single item. So spaced item dot length. This should work. And it throws an exception. Okay. What is it doing? Oh, I'm trying to access children. I don't even have to access children anymore. I can just say spaced items at I. Right?
Yes.
Okay, it doesn't like that either. Spaced item dot length. Style dot width.
It can't be because of the div that you got rid of, right?
It actually is most certainly because of that, because we have to restructure this. Oh, it's because I'm calling it to navbar. So I can just make this an empty function. It doesn't expect anything.
Oh, yeah, you don't have navbar anymore. Okay, I see. So, small problem, I suppose.
Yeah. So let's see.
But then you can't leave it empty because then there is nothing there anyway, so it should be fine running that way.
Yeah, I would be surprised if that was the issue. I'm just going to do a little quick debugging. Maybe it's not catching button. Maybe button needs to be lowercase, not uppercase. Okay. Let's do a little bit of low-tier debugging. So we're going to say console.log spaced item.length, right? 0. So it's not detecting any buttons. So let's see. That means when we're saying get elements by class name, spaced item is actually not getting back any items. I think this might be a difference between length and size. So there's a lot of different ways you can say JavaScript to get things, right? There's .length and then there's .size. I think there's a difference between the two. But
well, I would think
Oh.
length and size? They're not technically the same.
I think they might be synonyms. Let's try that.
Stupid English and stupid
Oh,
length.
that's undefined. Don't use .size, use .length.
Length? Okay.
Yeah. It's returning an error, and it's saying there's no buttons? It's saying it can't detect any buttons, but I see
Holy crap. Okay.
5. Yeah. Well, it's just saying that. It might be like some small minor issue, or something that I didn't spot. Load. 0
And
button.
these aren't called, like, .length isn't technically, like, a method like other languages, so you don't have to do parentheses and all that junk. You can just leave it as is.
Oh yeah, no, it's a value.
A value. Okay.
Yeah,
These terms are so different.
It's like this is. You know how in C++ you can access the value of an object by saying like dot value?
Yeah.
You can sometimes do the same thing in JavaScript. Not always. Sometimes you can do it. Other times it doesn't work. Or other times it will throw an exception. Class name button. So you can get a list of all of the items and their class names. I just don't know why it's saying there are 0. Oh, because it's not their class. Oh my gosh, I'm dumb. It's not class name. I just realized it's not class name, it's tag. Tag name. I'm so silly. So these aren't class names. I was getting mixed up because I originally had these as .nav button, right? Like that. Well, not like that. These are tags. You can get all the tags in a page, as well as all the classes. Like, you can get a count of banners, right? Like, if I were to do banner instead of button, well, that won't work. But this should work now. That was such a silly mistake. Yep. 6.
Cool.
Yeah, we just look at the JavaScript, it'll say, hey, I've got 6 of them, and it'll be like, cool, man, preach. You know, actually, I think we do need the div there to make this work properly. Yeah, I think we actually need the div. I stuck to my structure. That's good, I guess. But, as you can see, it's effectively the same thing. Alright. I think we can call it a night there.
Okay.
We should get more people, and we should also ask people specifically what they want to learn. So,
yeah, I actually didn't ask you what I wanted to learn specifically just because I don't know what I want. I think that this is really cool. I'm actually learning a lot right now.
I can continue on. I can go down the JavaScript rabbit hole next week, but about 5 people will work. I mean, if we get randos from the internet, I guess we can. Because we got like...
It's probably okay. Well, they're not going to be in the Discord chat, so I don't think they're going to be speaking, I believe, so...
They can hear you, though, if that's okay.
They can hear you?
They can hear you and me.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've never used... This is the first time I've ever used Twitch. I've never been on Twitch before.
I don't really Twitch either.
Interesting. I did not know that.
I do fidget from time to time.
Duh. I put you on... Okay, so I get 2 voices. I get one from Discord and one from your Twitch, but I just mute Twitch and then I listen through Discord.
Mute Twitch, by all means. Because then you can do other cool shit. Just mute... Like, I mute Twitch and I watch it go around the background just to make sure that, like... Because I can see, like, the 5-second delay between me doing stuff and stuff happening.
Oh, yeah, it's very minor, but it's enough that you're speaking it, making up for that, if that makes sense. I don't have a problem following it.
Yeah.
Now, does Twitch record your video for offline so that we have it later, or is that not a thing?
Oh, no, I have it. I have it downloaded.
Oh, cool. I believe Tyrone asked for that, because I think he's... I think he's in Humble, but I think he's busy.
I'm gonna edit it down as much as I can and just keep the essential stuff, although it's still gonna be, like, a 2-hour-long video.
That's honestly perfectly cool. I mean, this is real helpful. I've been taking screenshots as I go for my notes on my computer. Actually, my desktop is filled with a bunch of notes right now.
But I'm going to try to cut out as much fat as I can and be like, here you go, and just give it to other people in CS, and they can get caught up to where we are. And actually, what we can do from here on out is we can do
right.
follow the code sort of things, where like I tell you guys like what we code next, and we can all teach each other as we go. But yeah, I'll call it a night. I'll get the video edited, maybe Tuesday. I have time.
Did you learn most of this stuff from Sharon in her database and web applications class, or no?
Most of this stuff specifically? No.
For sure. Hey, dude, I'll see ya, alright?
What? Yeah, I'll see ya.
Alright, good night, bro.
Good night. You will learn a lot of this from Sharon, though, but I learned a little bit of this beforehand.